Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Coach the Coach Radio. Brought to you by the Business RadioX Ambassador Program, the no-cost business development strategy for coaches who want to spend more time serving local business clients and less time selling them. Go to brxambassador.com to learn more. Now, here's your host. Go to brxambassador.com to learn more. Now, here's your host.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of Coach the Coach Radio, and this is going to be a fun one. Today on the show, we have Wayne Schatzel, and he is with BizDevOne. Welcome, Wayne.
Hi, Lee. Nice to be here. Thanks for asking me to join you.
Well, I'm excited to learn what you're up to. Tell us a little bit about BizDevOne. How you serving folks?
Well, BizDevOne, I'm a life coach and business consultant. So BizDevOne is I work with small businesses, and I help them kind of reevaluate some of their goals, or even just create goals and achieve this success that they're looking for.
What was kind of the genesis of the idea? What's your backstory?
My backstory was I've worked in a lot of different businesses. I've worked in sales. I worked in IT. So I've always been a big proponent of business. I love what businesses can do for people. And when I became a life coach, I wanted to work with business owners. In general, I saw that business owners, were under a lot of stress. They wore all the hats. Basically, I figured I could help the business owner. I help a lot of people that work for them, their vendors, their customers, all that. It's a bigger ripple.
And when you're dealing with especially small business owners, are they kind of look at the world a little differently than maybe somebody who's kind of working in a corporate environment?
Oh, yeah. A business owner, they're taking it all on their own. A lot of times what I find is the business owners are it's their brainchild, their baby, so to speak. So they want to really control what goes on in the business. They want to control basically their life, their lifestyle. A lot of times people come in there to run their own business, to basically run their own life. But with that, comes a lot of other things. We talk about life and work balance, but really it's just kind of developing a harmony.
Right. And it's one of those things where when you go and become self-employed, you think, oh, I'm getting rid of my boss that I hate. And now you realize I got 100 bosses. Every one of my clients is now my boss.
Yeah, you go from, if you had a company that you can just take a month off and it runs itself, that's really a company. But basically you're taking on a self-proclaimed job.
And is that kind of an awakening for a lot of people? They didn't realize that that's what they were going to do?
Yeah, I think so. If you're like a great mechanic and you're great at fixing cars and you don't want to, work for somebody else's schedule, you decide I'm going to, go into business for myself. And they don't realize that, well, now I got to deal with, hiring people, HR issues, payroll, marketing, things like that they didn't have the expertise in. And now all of a sudden they're trying to do all those jobs, which, because that's not their skill set, it takes them longer than they probably need to take on those issues.
Now, in your practice, you do both consulting and coaching. A lot of folks, pick a lane. Why was it important for you to do both?
Well, I found with the small business owners, how you are one way, you are in all ways. Right. So there is no differentiating between work and your life as a small business owner, because you'll work late, you'll work on weekends. So a lot of times the business owner is so focused on their business that they're not paying attention to things that are going on in their own mindset. So what I find is very valuable is I could be working on a specific subject matter in their business, but it's their own personal limitations that may be getting in the way. So I just kind of switch hats and I coach them through that, that obstacle or that limiting belief. And then we move on to, the problem at hand with the business.
Now, is that usually the point of entry, is more of the coaching standpoint and then getting into the nuts and bolts of the business, or does it go the opposite where they have a problem they're trying to solve with their business? I mean, your firm's called BizDevOne, so I assume business development is a component of this.
Yeah. It's funny because I started out, as a coaching with Think Performance was the way I started with, but most business owners are focused on their business. They're not really thinking about themselves. People understand that coaches are helpful, but they don't realize how it's affecting them. So when I'm able to do both, that seems to be the secret sauce for what I do for my clients.
Right, but is the point of entry kind of the frustrations, or is it I need to get more sales?
It's usually the problem with the business that's going on, whether it's their marketing or they're having some problems where their business isn't doing as well as they think. They're not sure about what they're delivering for their business. Those type of things. It's usually a business issue that starts the conversation.
Now, is there any advice you can give to the listener here? A lot of our listeners are coaches trying to learn and be better from this standpoint. Is there any kind of advice you can give them that they can do on their own to kind of maybe alleviate some of the frustrations they might be dealing with?
Well, I think if you're talking to the coach, keep it simple. I think sometimes we have a tendency to overcomplicate things, and sometimes the simplest answers are the best ones. You don't have to dig far. The client, the business owner, with the right questions, is going to tell you exactly where the issue is.
And so it's just a matter of maybe kind of asking yourself some basic questions and really get clear of those priorities that maybe when you started have kind of drifted a little, and maybe get back to a true north.
Yeah, a lot of times, the business owner now is doing something that they really didn't have the passion for. So sometimes it's just a reevaluation or even a reframing of what that task is and how that's going to get them to their end goal.
And do you find that a lot of business owners have trouble delegating? And what happens is all of the kind of work that they are not passionate about, it's taking up the majority of their time, and they kind of lose the passion that they had because they're not doing the work they love, and they're doing all these kind of administrative or operational tasks that they didn't sign up for to begin with.
Yeah, you're right on point with that. I've had clients where they didn't want to let go of either the finances, right? So that might not be their strong suit, but they feel like that's something that they don't want to reveal, or whatever the case may be in their mind. But sometimes just having a bookkeeper taking that task off your hands frees up your headspace.
And then sometimes they're kind of penny-wise and pound-foolish when it comes to investing in something like that.
Yeah, especially if they're struggling with their business, so they're really trying to hold tight onto the purse strings, which makes a lot of sense. But sometimes they need to have that 36,000-foot view to see what this really is going to mean to the business. And when you're in that lack mentality, a lot of times you're working in the business and not necessarily on the business.
Now, do you ever find that business owners kind of are neglecting the ecosystem that's around them? They're not kind of getting as much out of their employees, their vendors, even their customers as they could be if they just asked.
Yeah, there's plenty of that, especially in the employees. I mean, there's been many instances where they're looking outside of their own company, and somebody within their company has some expertise that they can just tap on the shoulder to get them through a particular, hurdle, or even that person might want to move into that kind of a position that could help the company.
Now, is that when you're working with folks, is that where you're helping them kind of maybe see the forest for the trees? Like you're getting in there and with fresh eyes to see, maybe kind of even assess like, okay, do you have a lot of assets here that you're not really leveraging? And there's a lot of opportunity just right in front of you. And a lot of people look outward instead of inward. And there might be there's a book called like Acres of Gold in your backyard that you may not be paying attention to because you're looking, down the road.
Well, what I usually find when I'm working with a business owner that's kind of in distress, their head is down. They're grinding it out. And what I try to do is I come in and I try to really get into their vision of what they wanted for their business. I kind of get in the box with them for a little bit and to see what their initial goals were, what they're trying to accomplish. And then I try to take them out of the box and give them that 36,000 foot view so they could see the forest, and then they could see the direction they want to take in the forest when they're back down amongst the trees. So usually that usually helps them a lot because it gives them some clarity that they were missing.
And those fresh eyes, that's a good exercise for anybody at any stage of their business, is to have somebody with fresh eyes just look at things that might kind of open up your mind to opportunities you may not have considered.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And then after that, it's once you see that path, then you start taking those action steps, and then a lot of accountability comes into play there. But you have to take some action that's different than what you're doing. I guess that's Einstein's, theory of insanity. So you need to have when you get that, 36,000 foot view, you come back down. Okay, what's the plan? And then you got to start doing it. Right.
And is that part of your role also, that accountability partner?
Yeah, absolutely. I help them with the strategies at that point. Thinking about whether it's a marketing strategy or even just processes to improve what they're currently doing to make them more efficient. And then we set up, milestones, and we work to, make sure that we're hitting those targets on a timely manner.
And then when you do things like that, it's amazing what can be accomplished.
Yeah, it's they're surprised. A lot of times the business owner is surprised that it wasn't as difficult as they made it out to be. But I think we all kind of do that. We tell a story that's not true. And, we base all our actions on that false narrative.
Right.
So once they see the truth of that, then it becomes a lot lighter. The workload becomes a lot lighter.
Right. Because now there's steps that can be followed. It's not this kind of ambiguous thing that you just imagining. It's like, okay, I do these 6 things and let's see what happens, rather than, I don't know, it could be there's a lot of uncertainty. Now, can you share a story? Don't name any names, but like where somebody came to you with a certain type of problem, and then you were able to help them work through it and get their business to a new level?
Let's see. I can talk about. I'm working with one client in particular that they're relatively new, and they were working in an industry with low voltage wiring. And they have another company that could mentor them, that he offered to help them, but they weren't utilizing some of his knowledge, and they weren't positioning themselves in the industry. So, like we were talking about before, just a few questions. I asked, did you do a SWOT analysis? Did you look at your competition? What's your biggest competitor doing? Why aren't you setting regular meetings with the mentor and sitting down with the mentor and looking at things that maybe gaps that he can help you with? And it's amazing, just those certain questions within 4 weeks, they've totally changed their trajectory.
Yeah, it can happen that quickly. The right relationship and the right contact or connection can it's almost, I don't want to say it's like magic, but it can happen like magic, where all of a sudden the door opens and now all your problems kind of go away because this person or company filled a gap that you needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could be as simple as that. It's surprising.
Now, what is the way you work with your clients? Is it direct one-on-one coaching, group coaching? Do you do mastermind groups? Like how do you serve your clients? How do they work with you?
I do one-on-one coaching mostly with the business owners because I need to, and sometimes I'll work with them and a group of people within their company. We could do a group mastermind just with their company. I do also a mastermind group with other business owners. But when I'm working with a business owner, I like to be one-on-one.
And then, so that's like kind of a regular rhythm where you're checking in and giving them homework and checking progress and holding them accountable?
We'll meet once a week for an hour or two. I'll give them some tasks, some assignments, things that they should be looking at. working on. And then, they could check in with me through text message or a phone call during the week. And then we reconvene back a week later.
Now, when you started your practice, what was kind of the first clue that you were onto something, that you had a good thing going here and that you could really help a lot of folks?
Well, the first time I was called a life coach, I wasn't a life coach. I was just helping a friend work through her stage fright, giving a speech for the Boys and Girls Club of America, and just talked her through that whole process. And she started claiming I was a life coach for her. And I didn't even know what that was. I started looking into it, and that was about 13 years ago. And then I looked into being a life coach, and I got certified from there.
So she gave you the credential before you had the credential.
Yeah, I was scared to be called a life coach, so I had to look into this.
So if somebody wants to learn more, get on your calendar to have a conversation with you, what is the best way to do that? You have a website?
Yeah, BizDevOne.com. And you could just email me at Wayne@BizDevOne.com.
Good stuff, Wayne. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story today. You're doing such important work, and we appreciate you.
Thanks, Lee.
All right, this is Lee Cantor. We'll see you all next time on Coach the Coach Radio.